And hi, everyone. I'm meteorologist Sean Sublette from the Richmond Times-Dispatch. Want to bring you up to date on the weather situation right now in and around Central Virginia. It's a live look at our radar over the past 1 hour. One of the things that you'll be drawn attention to very quickly is this massive area of rain and thunderstorms that's diving in from the north. This is a large area of thunderstorms that's already produced wind damage from Caroline County and farther northward. There have been some wind gusts upwards of 70, 75, or even estimated upwards of 80 miles an hour in the last hour or so. Want to zoom in a little bit more to kind of see what we're up against here with this particular batch of intense thunderstorms. So here, there's Ashland in the middle of the screen, Richmond to the south, and I'm going to change the loop here to only the past 30 minutes. So just kind of follow along with me what we'll see here and put it back into motion. So the leading edge of this is only getting into the northern stretches of Henrico County right now. It's already raining very heavily in Ashland, and we've seen a lot of heavy precipitation, rainfall, and the like going northward up to Caroline County and up toward Fredericksburg. See, back up towards Fredericksburg, it's kind of done, at least for the time being. But we've already got numerous reports of downed trees in Caroline County. I'm going to go through some of these other messages that I've gotten. Many trees down across Caroline County, Hanover, King William County, some 80-mile-an-hour winds as this thing pushes south. The one little sliver of optimism I can share with you as this area of thunderstorms continues to push south toward Metro Richmond, the amount of lightning over the last 5 to 15 minutes has decreased just a little bit. So it does suggest there may be a teeny bit of weakening with this complex of thunderstorms over the past 15 or 20 minutes. Also, just got this report in Milford in Caroline County. Dominion reporting thunderstorm damage at 2:55. Already about 1,000 power outages clustered just to the west and southwest of Bowling Green, which of course is right there. So this is the cell that is over top of Ashland right now, effectively racing down Interstate 95 headlong toward Richmond, Chamberlain Avenue, and really the heart of downtown we expect in these next 20 to 30 minutes or so. It's a little different than the regular, like run-of-the-mill severe thunderstorm warnings. I want to show you why here. I'm going to pull in this little tool that helps us measure the velocity. And what you see right here is this big area of blue, all right? And this is an area where the winds are the strongest, all right? I'm going to stop the loop for a second. I'm going to go into this little tool right here, and this is going to tell us what the radar is telling me to tell you about the winds, all right? Velocity minus 75 miles per hour. What does that mean? It means up at the radar level, which at this point is about 4,000 feet, the winds are going in toward the radar at 75 miles an hour. And that's not very high above the ground at all. So this is the area right here that we're most concerned about from Ashland eastward going down toward Mechanicsville in particular. So I'm thinking Mechanicsville is probably in line for this system next. So all these areas in blue, I'm just going to click on them and you can see these numbers that are running 70s and 80 mile an hour. Again, this is up at around 35 or 4,000 feet. So it's not right at ground level, but this does give you an idea that this particular area right here that is shaded in this blue and deeper blue, lighter blue, away from the greens is where the winds are the strongest. So let's turn that back off and go back to the regular reflectivity mode of the system. All right, and we will loop it once again. And now we are going to zoom it a little bit more. Again, if you just tuned in, the most important thing you need to know across Metro Richmond, severe thunderstorm warning for this batch of intense thunderstorms racing southward out of Hanover County right now. There are winds that have been gusting 70 to as much as 80 miles an hour with this particular batch of thunderstorms. It's already caused damage, numerous power outages just up toward Caroline County, and it will be pushing into the city limits of Richmond. It's 3:20 right now. Probably by 3:45, no later than 3:45, maybe 3:35. Again, coming in to the north. I want to zoom in a little bit more so we can see some of the more kind of local locations. All right, so here's the leading edge of it. This line you see right here That's going to be Interstate 295. So it's already coming into northern stretches of Henrico County. We'll zoom in a little bit more. So there's downtown Richmond there, Highland Springs. Glen Allen is going to be over here. So this is where the storm is at its most intense, and it's going to continue to push southward. So if you're in the city limits of Richmond and it's starting to get dark on the northern horizon, the breeze is starting to pick up, get your stuff inside right now. If there's anything lying around outside, get it secured, and then hit inside until the storm passes. It will be in out pretty fast, probably going through any one location over the course of 20 to 25 minutes, and the winds will be in the stracas probably the first 5 or 10 minutes as this storm goes through. As we look farther upstream, there is more development, but nothing as intense as what's about to come through the city right now. Frequent cloud-to-ground lightning, winds upwards of about 65, 75 miles per hour. It is going to blow around some debris outside. I'm in Midlothian, already starting to look out the front window here, which does face north, at the breezes starting to pick up. So do be prepared for some scattered power outages. Already 1,000 power outages at least up toward Caroline County as this thing pushes to the south. Again, I'm going to zoom back in to kind of stay along with us. This is the leading edge of the rainfall from Laurel and extending down here toward Mechanicsville. No further news yet on reports from the storm at this point. And again, this is straight line winds. So many times we get kind of obsessed with the tornado, but this is straight line winds. This is probably downburst winds. In other words, you've got very rain-cooled air racing downward out of the storm, not southward, but literally downward, and then racing out in all directions at around 65, 70, or 75 miles per hour. And that's what we're looking at right now in terms of the damaging wind gusts. So don't wait for an invitation. Don't go looking for a funnel. You're not going to see one. All right. Now, one of the things I've just noticed over these last, 2 or 3 frames, the lightning itself is starting to pick up more out here in the western parts of Hanover County and going in, let's say closer toward Windham and maybe even Short Pump. So this is the area here, Short Pump, Windham, the near West End. These areas also have to be mindful of the threat of wind damage. All right, I'm going to stop it again. All right, so this is 323. This is the most recent radar returns. And again, I'm going to put on this wind tool to give you an idea and let you see what same things I'm looking at. All right, so this area, I know there's a lot of colors here. All right, but see, these are the areas that are in this deep blue. If you've just kind of popped into the live stream, these are the areas where the wind is the strongest. Toward the radar at 82 miles per hour, toward the radar at 75 miles per hour. Again, 75, 80 miles an hour, 3,500 to 4,000 feet up. And this is racing southward. Okay, so areas down here to Chickahominy, probably into the east side. Oh, computers are a good thing. To the east side of town, also very much under the threat for damaging wind gusts. All right, let's zoom out a little bit once again to kind of get your bearings. Highland Springs, Verina, there's Midlothian. Let's scroll down just a little bit more. All right, and again, we will put it back into motion. And that's just a live shot of the lightning kind of as we speak. All right, so we'll roll this again over the past 30 minutes. Again, the severe thunderstorm warning. I'm going to go back and double check on the specific times. I'll read you the statement as it came from our colleagues at the National Weather Service office in Wakefield down near Virginia Diner. All right, severe thunderstorm warning for destructive. I mean, that's a special note that the Weather Service will put on certain severe thunderstorms. It's not just a severe thunderstorm warning, whatever. When they put in this destructive tag, which is what they've done, that means there is evidence either from the radar or from actual reports, which we do have, that there is wind that is 70 to 80 miles per hour, especially destructive thunderstorm winds moving into the metropolitan area right now. All right, so Caroline, Chesterfield, Colonial Heights, Hopewell, Petersburg, Richmond, Goochland, Hanover, Henrico, in Powhatan for that matter. So basically, the metro area continues to be under this severe thunderstorm warning for destructive winds, 70, 75, perhaps even with an 80-mile-an-hour gust, until this comes through between now and about 4 o'clock. All right, I'm going to go through some of the other notes that I've gotten from the Weather Service office. Caroline County DOT, it's already reported wind damage. There's a tree blocking Jeff Davis Highway, Highway 1 up in Caroline County, and already 1,000 power outages clustered just to the west and southwest of Bowling Green. You've done the drive up 95. You know that's not a very, very far north of Ashland at all. So again, you want to be inside, and ideally you want to be away from windows as well. All right, just got note from Hanover 911. I'll read this right from the 911. It says, "This is Hanover 911. We have numerous reports of trees and wires down in Ashland and Hanover Courthouse." Again, this is a storm that's coming into Richmond pretty much as we speak, racing in from the north. Be ready to have power outages. If you've got stuff around outside in the backyard or outside the construction site, get it secure. You're starting to run out of time in the city limits themselves. Lots of cloud to ground lightning. I'm sure you've probably started to hear the thunder already, but do expect some power outages. Be inside, be away from windows. It's not a tornado, but you could very much have winds that are straight line that are going to do damage 70, 75, or 80 miles per hour. Again, this is the destructive severe thunderstorm in northern Henrico County now, extending from Laurel down past Mechanicsville. Now, I've got to imagine Mechanicsville is just in about the thick of it at the moment. And then racing southward down toward Highland Springs and Varina. It will be coming back farther toward the west, toward Huguenot Road, probably Midlothian, a little bit longer than that. Continue to monitor the chat from emergency managers off on the right part of the screen right now. I want to go back into the wind tool and let you see all the things that I'm seeing here. All right, and I know this gets a little bit messy, but again, as if you've just joined us, this little bubble here, I've turned off the reflectivity or what's kind of falling from the sky, and we're using the radar to determine what the winds are inside of the storm. And anywhere you see here in this lighter blue shade is pulling some 70-mile-an-hour winds. Okay, we'll stop the progression of the radar right now. So this is 328. And you can see over the north side of Richmond, the city limits themselves, the winds are 74 miles per hour. Again, this is about 3,500 to 4,000 feet above ground level, but this is still suggesting they're going to have at least some 60, 65 mile an hour winds at the ground level themselves. You see the little negative sign right there? That's telling us that the winds are toward the radar at that rate. That's why there's a minus sign, but I know it looks a little bit weird, but that's what the minus sign is telling us, that the winds are toward the radar at 74 miles per hour. So everywhere, and this is from Laurel going down toward Highland Springs. This is I-64 heading out past Bottoms Bridge in New Kent. And here's 64 going out toward Broad Street and ultimately into Goochland County. So as this thing races south of the James over these next 10 to 30 minutes or so, be cognizant of some very high winds for 5 to 10 minutes as the leading edge of this complex of thunderstorms does come through. Again, power outages, stuff's going to be blowing around. There will be at least a few small branches or limbs coming down. All right, new update. This is from King William County. Utility company, which I'm going to assume is Dominion, reports thunderstorm wind damage, cluster of nearly 1,000 power outages a few miles west of Beulahville. Again, King William County, where this storm is coming from, coming into the city limits as we speak. Let's turn this part off again and put the radar, as they say, into motion to get you an idea of how everything is progressing. So you could see this kind of ball of thunderstorms. There's the thunder and lightning, or the lightning anyway, right over the heart of Henrico County, now diving into the city limits right there, the near west end. I can see where about Staples Mill Road is. And now the leading edge of the rain is starting to cross the James River, not just in Richmond itself and extending toward Manchester, but now starting to head in toward Rockets Landing. Now, certainly past Chamberlain Avenue, probably heading toward Patterson Avenue as well. All this moving basically from north to south. Oftentimes, we think about these storms approaching from southwest to northeast. That's not the case this time. So it's very unusual. But if you see the sky getting dark to the north of you, that's where this storm is coming right now. Looking for some new reports. Nothing just yet. I'm going to go check another stream here to see if I can find some additional reports. Yeah, it's already gotten windy right in the central business district. Yeah, all my other colleagues in the media are kind of going along like with this as well. Yeah, I mean, look, my buddy Andrew over Channel 12. I'm taking this storm seriously, and I'm scrambling to get the lawn furniture into the garage. I mean, I've known Andrew for 20 years. I mean, right before I came on to do this live stream, I moved stuff against the north side of the house so it's not going to blow around because I got a gas grill out there. I got furniture as well. It's going to be a mess here in Midlothian probably in the next 10 to 15 minutes or so. All right, I'm going to check a couple of other things now. Multiple reports of large trees down near Bowling Green, of course, which we've already talked about. Yep, destructive storm moving into the metro area right now. So the strongest winds, and I'm just going to go straight to the velocity returns here. Hold on, let's go this away. Again, these are the storm winds. Anything you see here that's showing up in this kind of whitish blue or aqua kind of UNC type colors, it's winds that are 70 or 75 miles per hour. So again, that's moving through the north side of Richmond right now and racing southward into south side Richmond, and is going to continue to spread southward toward Chester, down toward Falling Creek, down toward Swift Creek Reservoir, crossing toward Midlothian Turnpike, Hull Street Road here over the next 15, 25 minutes or so at the minimum. I'm going to go back and check a few more things. Wakefield office continues a severe thunderstorm warning for destructive winds upwards of 80 miles per hour and the potential for some large hail, but really this is more about the wind than anything else, including for Chesterfield, Henrico, Colonial Heights, Hopewell, Petersburg, until 4 o'clock. So it's going to be between now and about 4 o'clock where the worst of this is passing through the metropolitan area. So again, I'm going to move things northward here. Everything here in this blue shade. I'm going to stop the radar again, bringing up the most recent return. And if you're just joining the live stream, this is what we're looking at. See the little thing that pops up, velocity minus 74. That means the winds are going toward the radar at 74 miles per hour. Again, this is up around 3,500 feet, 4,000 feet above ground level. But even at that ground level, there's not that much of a difference between that high up and the ground level. So, it's only about half a mile, or a little more than half a mile. So you should still expect some very high winds for about 5 to 10 minutes that are running upwards of 60, 65, or 70 miles per hour. Winds are starting to pick up here in western Chesterfield County near Midlothian from my home office here. So if you've got stuff outside and you're just, it's starting to get dark, should I bring the things inside? Yeah, you're running out of time. But I would say, get the stuff inside if you can do it at all. Because this storm is certainly going to be causing some power outages. It's already caused power outages up toward King William and up toward Caroline County. All right, let's put it back into motion and go back to the traditional reflectivity mode. Actually, no, that's a good idea. Let's zoom out so you can kind of see the larger scale. There we go, and we'll go past this one. Severe thunderstorm watch till 10 o'clock is kind of a foregone conclusion at this point. The difference between a watch and a warning. Watch means your conditions are favorable for the development of damaging thunderstorms. A warning, which we're also under until 4 o'clock, means it's pretty much hitting as we speak. This is where the actual active warnings are right now in this area shaded in this yellow-orange color. So this is all of Chesterfield County. This is all of Henrico County. This is all the city limits of Lynchburg. This is still all of Hanover County from Ashland and southward. So this still does include Mechanicsville. And this goes all the way down to Colonial Heights, Hopewell, Matoaka, and the northern side of Petersburg. as these storms continue to push to the south. All right, specifically, this is the way it kind of is transmitted. Severe thunderstorm warning until 4 p.m. So that's another 25 minutes for Colonial Heights, Hopewell, Petersburg, Richmond, Chesterfield, Hanover, and Enrico. That's really the metro area. There's potential for some hail, but the wind is what we're most concerned about here over these next 20 to 25 minutes. The gusts pushing 80 miles an hour. Oftentimes you hear about the severe thunderstorm warning, you can do a 45, 50, 55 mile an hour gust. But in this case, if you've got winds that are going 75 or 80 miles an hour, that's a bigger difference. It takes a lot more energy to start moving the winds that much faster. And you can do a lot more damage with an 80 mile an hour wind than you're going to do with a 50 mile an hour wind. So that's what we need to be mindful and what we need to get through here over the next 20 to 25 minutes or so across Metro Richmond. We'll clear it out and we'll go back to what we should expect after this first wave comes through over the next 6 hours. So we think by 4:30, this first wave is done and there will be a break. But there is going to be more development farther upstream. We think the first batch, which is often the case, is going to be the worst. Then there is going to be a break for a little while. But as you see, we get to 5:30, 6 o'clock or so, there are going to be more showers and thunderstorms. Don't think they will be severe. Don't think they will do a lot of damage. We need to get through this first 20, 25 minutes or so. There may be a few more strong storms out toward Amelia, not away later on in the evening, but we don't think it's going to be as much of a problem as we're going to have in Richmond between now and the top of the hour, 4 o'clock. A couple more reports have just come in. This one has come in from Mechanicsville. 1 mile away from Mechanicsville, power outages. 5,000 power outages between Mechanicsville and Studley in Hanover County. So, if you're in Chesterfield and it's getting dark, like, is this storm coming toward me? The answer is yes. The storm is coming toward you. All right, let's go back and look at the last hour's worth here of radar imagery. This storm generated back up between Fredericksburg and D.C. and continues to race down to the south. A couple more reports have just come in. A gust of 52 knots over in Sandston. That's about 56, 58 miles per hour. All right, so local reports near Hanover, wind damage, tree limbs are down, shingles have blown off a few houses there near Hanover, near the town of Hanover, not so much countywide. All right, got to tell you, looking out the north window here, getting dark here in Midlothian. If you're in Midlothian, you're at Hull Street, Midlothian Turnpike. I don't want to say we're going to miss the worst of it, but we're still going to get some high winds, and we're still going to get some intense rain and lots of thunder and lightning here over the next 20 to 25 minutes or so. All right, so this thing is, it's right over. It's right over the city right now. All right, so just hang with me. 52 knots. I'm going to check a few more observations right now. Yes, the wind damage, power outages. Yeah, and the storm itself is racing southward about 45 to 50 miles per hour at the minimum. So when we think about the winds, we have to think about the winds within the storm itself, and you got to think about the forward progress of the storm. All right, so you add those up to some point, and that's going to give you where the wind damage is going to be. And I'm just kind of waiting now at this point. We can see the heaviest right now, right through anywhere from, here's Huguenot Road out this way. There's Chippenham, kind of following their hand down there, if you will, down toward 895, Pocahontas Parkway, going back to 295. Very intense right now over the Nickel Bridge, Boulevard Bridge. That's coming into Forest Hill. This continue to push to the south and to the southwest. And that's the other odd thing. We normally expect these storms to come from the southwest. This one is racing in from the north or maybe even east and north. All right, get inside, get away from windows if you can, at least for the first 5 or 10 minutes that this storm is coming through. Very frequent cloud to ground lightning with this particular cell also. I'm going to just go through and see if there's anything else I can glean to share with y'all on the live stream here. Again, that gets a little bit messy, so we'll back off a little bit. And all right, I'll stop the image again. And once again, if you've just joined the live stream, I get little tones. I just want to share them with you as they come in. So we'll pull back in the storm winds, and I'm going to do a big view of the storm winds here. All right, so right now the highest storm winds are over South Richmond. All right, so let's pull this up, and I'll show you what I can see. Yeah, winds 73 miles an hour toward the radar. That's what the minus sign means. It doesn't mean the winds are going backward. It means the winds are toward the radar at 73 miles per hour in South Richmond. All right, so follow along the line here. You see my little question mark cursor. That's Route 60. That's Midlothian Turnpike. So that's going to be the city-county line. This takes us back out towards Sims Avenue. All right, so this is where in Forest Hill Park. So that's what this is right now, Forest Hills and Stratford Hills, that part of the city, Boulevard Bridge, extending southward down Route 1, Walmsley Boulevard, extending all the way down toward the Chesterfield County line and Swift Creek. All right, this is all racing south down Osborne Turnpike here, Route 5 in Verina, and I'm just starting to see the lightning outside my front window now. Having said all that, the worst of the wind is now done basically north of I-64. I mean, it's still breezy to be sure, and it's still raining. And there's the thunder, everybody. And again, I'm here in my office in Midlothian. So north of 64, the worst is behind you. But we've still got about 15, 25 minutes that we're going to have to contend with this, essentially south of the James River. Even here in Highland Springs, it's about to back off. These are the winds that you just don't get often. This is the kind of storm we'll get once or twice in the course of a year in Richmond. So do expect some power outages. I'm still kind of monitoring to see what I can find regarding power outage information. You see that flash right there? That shows you where most current flashes are, lightning strikes are. Winds picking up now. Just had another 60-mile-an-hour wind gust out in Sandston as this thing goes by. All right, and we're starting, again, to see the, man, the sky has gotten dark here in Midlothian. All right, I'm going to check a few another report, see if I can share with you as this thing goes by. And we'll turn the loop back on for 30 minutes at a time. I'll start it up. So knowing, all right, and I'm going to get Richmond right in the middle of the screen right there. All right. Knowing this is only 30 minutes of radar imagery. All right. So the worst of the storm right now, basically along the James River, down toward I-64 and south. And, computers are computers, so sometimes there's going to be a little hiccup. But you kind of get the idea of what's going on here. It's having a hard time. It's struggling. All right, so let's go ahead and pause it. And here comes the wind here in Midlothian. I can start to see some debris blowing around outside my north-facing window here in Midlothian, which means I'm right about over here. And we'll see how. We'll see how the gas grill does outside. I've got it secure. We'll see how it holds up. Another one of my colleagues in northern Chesterfield County says the lights have started to flicker. Storm is lots of rain as promised. The Science Museum looks really cool, but it's even cooler when storms like this push by. Storm is moving south very fast. These are some more things to watch on social media. You might have had your phone go off. This is probably why. The severe thunderstorm warning does continue until the top of the hour, so for 15 more minutes for the potential of destructive winds. Not just, it's 45, 50 miles an hour, but these 75 or 80 mile an hour winds and the potential for hail. But again, this is really more about wind than anything else. between now and the top of the hour. All right, let's back this off a little bit because I just want to reemphasize that once this first wave goes through, we do catch a break. You look upstream for where things are coming from. We don't have as much of the brutal radar returns here going northward up towards Spotsylvania and Fredericksburg. There will be more development later on in the afternoon and into the evening, but I still think that the worst of this is what we're going through now and the next 15 minutes. 3:45 right now on this Wednesday afternoon. Let's loop it once again. All right, and let's loop it several times. So that's the main event right now, going through South Richmond, getting into Chesterfield. It's already in southern Henrico County, Varina extending down toward Dutch Gap and Enon and Chester. They're all in it next. Gustier winds starting to get here toward Midlothian, although I think that far western Chesterfield County, beyond Brandon, heading on the way to Amelia, those places will probably miss out on the worst of the winds, and they're going to hold a little bit closer to the city limits themselves and extending southward down toward Chester, Harrogate Road, and ultimately on the way down to Colonial Heights. All right, let's pause it again. So this is the most current, and I want to go back in and look at some of these winds. And hang with me. Yeah, so let's see if I can get this thing rolling. Yeah, there we go. So the highest winds going across South Richmond now and crossing into Chesterfield County, heading down toward Chester. It looks like Midlothian and down toward Brandermill. Those areas are going to miss the absolute worst of the winds. Still going to be windy, but the highest damage you see there is in that blue shade. That's that ball of winds, if you will, in that blue shade, that UNC kind of shading, light blue and slightly deeper blue, that are running about 70 miles an hour or so. So that's continuing to push southward now out of the city limits, down toward Chester and all the way toward Colonial Heights. So I think we're doing pretty well here in western Chesterfield County, toward Midlothian, Hull Street, and those locations. The highest winds have now effectively exited out of the city limits of Richmond. Old habits die hard. Sorry about that. But I'm still trying to figure out. I don't know if y'all can hear that, but that it's getting real. Let me see if I can find a little more stuff about power outages from Dominion. But again, the highest winds have now shifted out of the city limits of Lynchburg. Strongest winds, which are pushing upwards of 70 miles an hour, are now in Chesterfield County and racing southward towards Petersburg, Wetumpka, Ettrick, those locations, again, south of the James at this point. Varina, Highland Springs, Montrose, you're out of the worst of it now. Farther northward, you're out of the worst of it now across Hanover County. Now it's kind of cleanup mode at this point, although there's still going to be some rain to deal with. I'm going to pull up the Dominion outage map over here on my other screen. I'll share with you what we've got going on. Let's zoom out a little bit. Oh yeah. So just pulling up the Dominion map right now. More than 2,500 customers out in Henrico County, more than 2,500 customers out in Richmond, more than 2,500 customers out in Hanover County, and we've got about 1,000 customers out up in Caroline County, heading up towards Spotsylvania County. And that number is going up effectively as we speak. In Chesterfield County, we've got upwards of about 1,000 to 2,500 customers out in Chesterfield County as this storm continues to push to the south. Let's clean this up a little bit. and move the map up to the north. So again, to get your bearings, Midlothian is here, Hopewell, Petersburg here, Varina, and right up top here is the city limits of Lynchburg. So the worst of this, truly the worst of the wind, has cleared the city limits of Richmond. At this point, is much more of an issue, let's say anywhere from about Hull Street Road near Chippenham, almost 288, extending down toward Chester and ultimately down toward Colonial Heights. That's where the worst of the storm is going through right now, where we've got some winds that are 70 to 75 miles per hour. Still going to scroll a little bit, look for a little more regarding damage. Again, we've had the 60-mile-an-hour gust in Sandston. And I hesitate to say that I'm lucky in Midlothian, but I'm going to say I'm kind of lucky here in Midlothian that the worst of this has edged by to my location eastward, back toward Chippenham, and moving much more southward down toward Hull Street Road, probably just beyond 288 for too much longer, and heading down toward the Appomattox River. Let's zoom this out a little bit. All right. So to emphasize, this is the main event that most of Richmond and now Chesterfield County is going through right now, basically from about Chippenham Parkway and east and extending down toward Chester and all the way down toward Walthall and ultimately down toward Colonial Heights. If we zoom out a lot further, up here toward Fredericksburg, there's Charlottesville over there on the left part of the screen. There are more thunderstorms up there that are moving in from the north, but they're not reaching to the extent or the intensity of what Richmond has dealt with here over the past, let's say, 30 to 35 minutes or so. Getting a few more reports. The thunderstorm warning continues until 4 o'clock. Not a big surprise there. However, the warning, the technical warning, has been discontinued in the city limits of Richmond, which we just mentioned a couple of minutes ago, that the worst conditions have now shifted southward from the city limits of Richmond and now basically going through Chesterfield County and heading down probably into Petersburg, Hopewell, Matoaka, Ettrick, probably getting into Prince George, and Dinwiddie next. Maybe not so much in the town of Dinwiddie, but going farther south. Okay, so this one's just in from the city of Richmond, from downtown, 3 miles east-northeast of downtown. So that's going to put it kind of on the way toward Mechanicsville, near the Shockoe Valley Bridge, Mechanicsville Turnpike. Thunderstorm wind damage for 335. Numerous trees and wires down in the city of Richmond. So again, time is estimated from the radar, but one of the things I want to emphasize is that the worst of the storm has now pushed through the city limits of Richmond and continues farther to the south and to Chesterfield County right now. All right, the rest of the warning does go until 4 p.m. for areas down here into Chesterfield, Matoaka, Ettrick, down to the Appomattox River, Dinwiddie County, Prince George County. But here farther northward, from Richmond and north, it's just rain. The worst of it has passed. This area, as you might guess, in the big blob of orange, yellow, and red is where it's at its worst, racing southward at about 45 to 50 miles per hour, down toward Chester and heading down to Matoaka. That's another view of the in-storm winds that we talked about before. And I know this is not the kind of radar image that you're used to, but one of the things I did want to share with you here is follow this little bit here. See this light bluish color, kind of UNC, North Carolina colors, coming out of Ashland, down through Richmond, and extending on the way, basically through Chester, now down to Matoaka. That's where the highest winds have been. So that's why it went right over the city limits of Richmond and extending down toward Bellwood on the way down to Chester. 1 mile south of Bellwood in Chesterfield County, over 1,200 power outages from the storm just south of Bellwood. All right, so again, we're not quite all the way out of this just yet in Chesterfield County. But this area with this blue here, that's the winds that were 70, 75 miles an hour. All right. The other positive thing I could say as this storm does continue to push southward toward Matoaka, Ettrick, Petersburg, Hopewell, it does look like it's weakening. The winds inside of this are weakening a little bit. It's not to say there's not going to be potential for some damaging winds or some power outages, but it does look like it is showing distinctive signs of weakening a little bit. We're still going to have more showers, thunder showers upstream from us in Richmond in the metro area here through the evening, but this is probably going to be as bad as it gets. Again, Western Chesterfield, you're like, it wasn't that bad because it really wasn't that bad. Here in Midlothian, heading out toward Brander Mill, Wood Lake, and those locations, we're just a little bit too far west to get into the heart of the worst of these winds. For everybody, though, if you're watching this from anywhere in Central Virginia, we're still under the severe thunderstorm watch until 10 p.m. What does that mean? That means conditions do remain favorable for the development of thunderstorms with damaging winds through 10 p.m. Still feel pretty good that the worst of what we're going to have is going through right now. We've just gone through in the past hour or so, but there will probably be more rain and some thunderstorms before the night comes to an end. But there is still that threat, middling threat, but a threat nonetheless of some damaging winds with thunderstorms after this first wave and right on through about 10 o'clock tonight. This is the area right here, this kind of shaded area right here that remains under the severe thunderstorm warning until 4 p.m., which admittedly is only a couple more minutes or so for the area with some damaging winds. So if we zoomed in a little bit closer to give you an idea, so Chester, Hopewell, Matoaka, Ettrick going into Petersburg, and Pocahontas State Park. These areas all still remain in the worst of it for the next 10, 15 minutes or so before things begin to shift farther to the south into, I'm not even going to say Amelia. I don't think it's going to get into Amelia, but extending down into Dinwiddie and Prince George County. All right. That's just ugly. Let's shift out of that. So let's think ahead to these next 6 hours or so. Toward 4:30, the first wave is done, but there will be more rain ahead this evening. This isn't necessarily going to be a one and done like we oftentimes get. There are more thunderstorms upstream from us. Don't think they're going to be as bad as what we've been through, but there will probably be more rain. You will probably hear a little more thunder before the night comes to a close. Then everything really winds down much later on into the night. Going farther westward out towards Charlottesville, Farmville, Lynchburg, if you're heading out that way, you will probably run into even more rain and thunderstorms this evening compared to what we're going to have here in Richmond. All right, we're coming up on 4 o'clock when the warning is set to expire. So we're going to continue with you for a few more minutes and then wind down this live stream. I'm going to take another look at some other reports that we've gotten so far. I'm seeing what else we have. Glen Allen says they've estimated about 50-mile-an-hour winds there. And again, we had a 60-mile-an-hour gust in Sandston over near the airport. I'm going to refresh the power outage map and see what we've got here. And it's still about the same. So just to kind of take you through, if you've just popped in, on the live stream, the worst is pushed through Richmond. The worst is done through the city limits of Richmond. That's done. But there's still some potential for some damaging wind gusts for another 10 or 15 minutes along I-95 in Chesterfield County. Not so much western Chesterfield, Midlothian, Hull Street, not so much there. But Chester, Route 1, extending down Jeff Davis Highway, I-95 on the way to Petersburg. That's where it's going to be the worst over the next 10, 15 minutes or so. I just got another alert. Yeah. There's been a re-upping of the severe thunderstorm warning now for Chesterfield, Colonial Heights, Hopewell, Petersburg, Dinwiddie, Prince George, as we mentioned about 5-10 minutes ago, as this storm continues to race to the south. I'll just read you the entire summary here to share along with you that the warning does continue. The forward speed is about 50 miles an hour. So the winds, the storm winds still running about 60, 65 in this complex that's now south of Richmond, basically hanging in Chesterfield County, between Swift Creek and down toward Petersburg. But it's moving forward from north to south at about 50 miles an hour. So still some tree damage likely in these locations there in southern Chesterfield County all the way to Petersburg. Multiple trees down at Richmond Highway and Terminal Avenue. Let's take a look at the power outages again. This loads back up. And again, we've got, more than 25, there's 10,000 power outages at least across the metro area, just looking at the Dominion map in general. More than 2,500 customers out in Hanover County. More than 2,500 customers out in Henrico County, more than 2,500 customers out in the city limits of Lynchburg, and upwards of about 1,000 customers out in Chesterfield County, but I expect that number is going to continue to rise as we go into the coming 10, 20 minutes or so until what's left of this area of thunderstorms pushes southward from Petersburg and down toward Sussex, ultimately into Prince George and Dinwiddie County. Farther westward, again, I was talking about this a little bit earlier as we zoom in. There's Chester right in the thick of it right now, and then extending down toward Matoaka and Petersburg, when Petersburg's like right here. All right, but as we go westward from Chester, from 288 down out toward the Swift Creek Reservoir, which is right here, so Brandon Mill, those locations, kind of looked out. Midlothian and heading down toward Brandon Mill, kind of missing out on it, fortunately. Only by a couple of miles, but missing out on the worst of it, but literally by just a couple of miles. But the city limits of Richmond now are out of it. The wind speeds are starting to decrease a little bit as the storm continues to push toward Petersburg and ultimately down I-85 on the way to Dinwiddie County. So, I'm going to zoom back out and one more. Bring this up to the most recent radar image. Stop it right there. Bring in the velocity scope, if you will. And this looks a lot better than it did 20 minutes ago. I got to tell you. 20 minutes ago, we held these North Carolina blue colors. And that means that the winds were 70 miles an hour. Those have since faded. So the worst is done through most of Metro Richmond. Still windy, still some thunder, lightning in Chester down to Petersburg, but it looks as if the worst of the storm is starting to fade. I want to go into a couple more things before we finish up here. And there's the velocity. Let's roll through this one more time, a couple more times, to show you what I was talking about over the last hour. And again, this is kind of messy, but if you look at the beginning of the loop toward Ashland, you see that blue shade, that North Carolina kind of blue shade. Those are the areas where the wind was going about 75 or 80 miles an hour, racing southward out of Ashland, across Richmond, East Richmond, Sandston, Mechanicsville, extending down to Verina, going down toward Matoaka right now, but weakening as it has done so. That's why we think the threat has ended, at least for the time being, across most of Metro Richmond. To wrap up, we still have a severe thunderstorm watch until 10 p.m. This does mean that conditions remain favorable for the redevelopment of thunderstorms with damaging winds until about 10 o'clock. There will be some more rain and thunderstorms as the afternoon wears into the evening and probably even into the night, but we do expect the worst of the conditions is going to be coming to a close very shortly. This is the one active severe thunderstorm warning that remains valid, if you will. Matoaka, Petersburg, going down to Sussex, Prince George. A lot of princes in Virginia. So Colonial Heights, Hopewell, Petersburg, and then the counties of Chesterfield, Dinwiddie, Prince George, and Sussex. Again, not so much hail, but the wind speed's now 60 miles an hour. That's not as bad as the 80-mile-an-hour wind that we had just 20, 25 minutes ago. So we're going to begin to wind this down and shut off the for the live stream for now, and then take one more look at what we expect in the coming several hours. A few more waves of rain and thunderstorms. We don't expect it reaching the extent of what we've just gone through. 6 o'clock, 7, there will still be a few more of these around, but especially if you are heading farther off to the west, out toward Farmville, Charlottesville, Lynchburg, Charlotte County, Prince Edward, Cumberland, that's where we are going to see probably more development of strong thunderstorms as the evening goes on. Okay, so with that, we're going to wind it down. We're getting to be 6 minutes after 4 o'clock on this Wednesday afternoon. Final check of damage reports. Again, mostly trees and power lines down in a broad area between Caroline County down to Hanover, through Richmond and parts of Chesterfield County. We've already had numerous wind gusts in excess of 60 miles an hour, but mercifully, it does look like things are weakening below those true damaging limits. It's still going to be stormy, it's still going to be wet, but the damaging threat looks like it is starting to wane. So with that, we're going to wrap it up. Again, thanks for joining us on the live stream. This reminder, the severe thunderstorm watch does continue until 10 o'clock this evening. Hope you've got power. Hope you stay safe, and we will talk to you all again very soon.